brings you down then?
I'm studying London College of Fashion.
Room is on the top floor.
It's perfect. I love it. If I could live any place and any time, I'd live here in London. In the 60s, I saw something in my dreams. There was a girl.
And you are?
Sandy.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast That Wouldn't Die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hello there.
This week... Oh, sweet. You blew out my eardrums on that one.
Well, I don't want to be too quiet this time.
Yeah, God forbid. This week, we'll be discussing the new classic, Last Night in Soho, starring Anya Taylor-Joy and Thomasin McKenzie. I defy you to find a more British name than that one, by the way.
I thought it's Thomasina.
It's not Thomasina. It's not Thumbelina or anything else, for God's sake.
I just call her Queen's Gambit, but she does have those Guillermo del Toro, like, part goat eyes. Like eyes of prey and not predators.
Interesting. Thomasin, if you're listening, no offense. I'm not even sure she's English. She might be Irish. But whatever the case may be.
If you're Irish, step into the parlor. There's a welcome there for you.
When Irish goat eyes are smiling.
I'm full of caffeine.
There you go. What else is new? This is the latest film by esteemed British director Edgar Wright. So good times had by all. Aaron, why don't you give us the 30-second synopsis of Last Night in Soho?
All right. Girl. Codependent relationship with her mother. Maybe the daughter's schizophrenic. Either way, going to the big town of London where her mother was murdered. Hey, I'm socially awkward. I don't fit in with the mean girls. I've never met mean girls. I live in a bubble. Hey, hallucinations. Hey, I get into this relationship with this British dude who I know from some show, but I can't remember where. Hey, I copied designs from the 60s, which were a clearly recognizable design, and my design teacher thinks I'm a frickin' genius. Hey, it's not what you think. Adios, Emma Peel.
Poor Emma Peel. By the way, Thomasin McKenzie from New Zealand. So not even the correct continent. Good times.
Whatever. It's all, what do they call it? The
diaspora?
The diaspora. I'm having like a seizure.
You're having something. Sweet Jesus.
It's all part of the Commonwealth, or was, or is, or
something like that. But isn't the America fall under that as well? Sweet Jesus.
At one time, I guess.
At one time.
The white people still worship the British and all things British.
Well, you do. You're like an Anglophile.
I know. They're always like, if you want someone to say something smart, you hire a British person. And if you want someone to be extra evil, you hire a British person. Also, if you want someone whose sexuality is questionable, you hire a British person.
Oh, good Lord. The views of Aaron do not represent the views of the podcast That Wouldn't Die at large. So there you go. Good times had by all. Sweet Jesus. I was going to say that you hire a British person if it's also like a fantasy movie or television show that's with no basis in reality. You know, it could be Lord of the Rings and Middle Earth. Do they have to be British? Yes, they do. It's a rule.
And it's always fascinating, at least to America, to hear people who are not white with British accents. Quite frankly, what I was referring to was more of a Idris Elba talking in his real voice.
Because most Americans know Idris Elba, and originally was from The Wire, where he played a Baltimore crime lord. Idris Elba, since we're going off on all these tangents, Idris Elba talks about how, because he was a DJ, he was a famous DJ in England.
I didn't know that.
Before he was an actor. And he came to America, and he would be in clubs, and like gangsters from Baltimore or whatever would come up to him, and then would come away distraught when they realized his real accent was a British accent. Because he was so convincing as Stringer Bell in The Wire.
Wait, so are you saying that he was on The Wire and he was still DJing at clubs?
I think before he was on The Wire, he was a DJ. I mean, I think he still DJs.
I thought you were telling me that at some club, some rave, Idris Elba, after The Wire was spinning, and gangsters would come up to give him the secret handshake and then would burst into tears when they realized he was British. I thought that was your story.
The timeline was he became famous as a British DJ. Then somehow he got into acting and was able to do like a great impression of an American accent. So much so, a Baltimore accent, that he got the role on The Wire as a crime lord, a gangster. And then he'd just be at clubs in America, just being at a club. Maybe he was grabbing the turntables. Who the hell knows? And gangsters would come up to him and were aghast to discover he was British.
He and fuck. I can't even be cool and hip and rattle
That's
off.
two F-bombs so far. 5 minutes. We haven't even started talking about the movie. Good times.
I can't be cool and come up with a name of a couple of DJs all of a sudden. I'm brain damaged. Continue on. Hide my shame. Edit this part out.
This is all edited out. All of our opinions about accents and things like that. That's all in the.
So it was like Idris Elba and Marshmallow, just like hitting it.
I don't know who Marshmallow is, but I'll take your word for it. So where did you first heard about Last Night in Soho? Let's get back on track here.
What about Dead Mouse? That's really old.
I still don't know what you're talking about. Can we talk about the movie?
Never mind.
Sweet Jesus.
I remember ads for it, but I mean, it's hard in COVID because the majority of the time when you see ads for movies is when you go to the movies.
Right.
And if you're not watching terrestrial TV, you really have no idea what's going on.
Right.
So I think maybe I saw a movie and then maybe at Candyman, there was an ad for it or something coming soon. And then it just, I couldn't be bothered. I couldn't figure out what it was, and I couldn't be bothered until we invited ourselves onto another podcast, and I was forced to watch it.
That's correct. That is correct. Well, yeah, basically, in the time of COVID, you are even more picky about the movies you're actually getting off your butt and seeing in the theaters.
Correct.
You just have to. That's just the way it goes. Therefore, we only go out to see such classics as Candyman, 2021.
And House of Gucci. Both disappointing.
That's kind of the thing. But I remember seeing ads for this. And I like Edgar Wright. I follow him on Twitter. So I was hearing it was blowing up my Twitter feed with Last Night in Soho. But
I didn't know that it was the same thing. Honestly, I didn't know Edgar Wright was the director. I thought that What's-His-Face from Shaun of the Dead was somehow the director of all these movies.
Simon Pegg?
I thought Simon Pegg was the director since he was in all these movies. I never put it together that there was somebody else.
Well, because they had a collaboration for years and years and years, and maybe they still do. Edgar Wright, Simon Pegg, and Nick Frost were in all those movies together. Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead, The World's End. So it is kind of a departure.
Paul?
They did. I don't know if Edgar Wright did that. I know Nick Frost and Simon Pegg were in that.
I hated that. That was terrible.
I did not see it, so I cannot comment.
It was terrible.
It's a sad situation.
I find it annoying when atheists are just as evangelical as evangelicals with their beliefs. I find it equally annoying.
Is that what Paul's about?
Oh yeah, it was on and on
it's about
and on.
Man, right, or something, lizard alien thing,
like an alien or something. But it's 3/4 atheism rants.
Well, what do they say? It's like half the fun of being an atheist is you don't have to believe in anything.
Right.
You don't have to attend meetings. You don't have to do any rituals. The moment it's like you have to believe this, then atheism becomes a religion.
Right.
There you go.
But
times.
They have to keep talking about it.
Okay. I remember seeing ads for this. And like you said, it was just kind of like, oh, that's kind of interesting. Not something I'm probably going to rush out to see.
Yeah. I had no idea what
so
it
that
was
when
about.
we were invited on the other... I mean, we were invited on...
I see.
3 films and a podcast we were invited on, and we recorded. We were on 3 films and a podcast, invited on to discuss Last Night in Soho. So we were both like, okay, let's go do that. And of course, by the time came time to record it, it was no longer in theaters. So we had to drop 20 bones each
20
to watch
bones.
it streaming. But you figure if you're going to the movies, you're probably dropping at least that much.
Yeah.
I get the popcorn, I get the hot dog, maybe an icy. Who's to say?
Oh my God.
So,
and then you get the insulin.
Well, and the other thing was I had no idea. Exactly. I had no idea what this movie was about.
I didn't even know it was a ghost story. I couldn't, from the ads, I had no idea what was happening.
Is it a ghost story?
Or is she kookaloonie?
Who's to say? It's all a mystery.
She's the worst psychic that ever was.
Something like that. Let's jump right in to the...
I thought we jumped in approximately 10 minutes and 40 seconds ago.
You thought, well, we talked about other things briefly. Okay, so at first I thought this movie took place in the 60s from the beginning.
Right.
Because it's her, what is her name? Thomasin McKenzie plays the character, and I always forget to look up the characters' names. Eloise. And it starts off in her very 60-ish bedroom listening to 60s music, swinging 60s British stuff. So I thought, oh, well, obviously this is like a period piece.
Right.
But it's not. Because she's on the train listening to like her Beats headphones. That's kind of the reveal.
Listening to like Dusty Springfield and stuff.
Right. And I guess what we're supposed to think, because I don't think was her mom murdered in England, or did she commit suicide because of her experiences in England or in London?
I don't remember. She's dead. She's dead.
She's no longer with us.
Something because of what went on in England, and I like to think that Emma Peel killed her mother, but
just for fun. Spoiler alert. Well, and that's the thing. It's like I got the impression that the mom was kind of unhinged in some way, and her experiences in swinging London knocked her over the edge so that she committed suicide. So Eloise lives with her grandmother.
Right.
Eloise, I guess, is like an aspiring fashionista, right? Fashion designer. Is that what's going on?
Right. She's going off to go to design school, fashion design school.
Now, were her designs always rip-offs of 60s fashion?
We don't know. But apparently she'd never seen 60s fashions until she started hallucinating. Seems to me you could have just gone to your fashion design library and opened a book and be like, yep.
Is there a fashion design library in the greater Bakersfield area?
Get out of here. We don't have a fashion design school, but for sure they do. Plus an internet library, I'm guessing.
That's true. We also realize that Eloise has visions, premonitions. She sees dead people. It's hard to know what's going on. She sees like the reflection of her dead mother in the mirror from time to time. Right? Like no explanation. Just kind of like, are you still kind of seeing things, sweetie?
Yeah.
No, I'm fine.
The fact that she is in the mirror makes me think that it's in her mind versus I see dead people where they're just cruising.
Right. Well, it's hard to know. Because again, we know her mom was unhinged, and we're starting to think if it's genetic, like Eloise is a little touched in the head as well.
Right.
At one point, and you might know more about this, was she wearing a dress made out of newspapers?
Yes.
And is that a thing?
I think it's a party favor thing.
I don't know what that means.
Like you go to, it's a party game. They do that at bridal showers, toilet paper bride.
Make a dress out of newspapers?
Yeah.
Okay. Very good.
I haven't personally done it, but I have been to toilet paper bride. I have heard of such a things. And
was she at a bridal shower, or was she alone and insane in her room?
I think she was probably with her other artsy fartsies, because how would you wrap yourself like that? You would need someone helping you.
Well, but that's the other thing. She seems kind of awkward socially.
She is. She seems
awkward and strange.
She seems half Mormon, so
we're trying to offend as many people as possible. Well, because it's like there's no like friends seeing her off. It's just her grandmother saying, adios. Remember, you can always come back, sweetie, if things don't work out.
She may be one of these girls who doesn't have female friends. She's not social with the guys, but maybe.
Right. She's not social with anybody. There's one dude who seems to like her over the course of the movie, although you can't understand why. I mean, she's cute, right? She's kind of cute, but she definitely, early on in the movie, number one, she looks like she's 12.
Yes.
She looks very young. And is not at all glamorous or worldly, let's say. I mean, definitely kind of, I made my own clothes kind of thing. But it's kind of a fashion, she's going to a fashion institute. So is it strange that she makes her own clothes?
I don't think it's strange you make your own clothes.
Just in general?
I think it's a combination of two things. One, yes, you want to be down with the latest fashions, but your whole purpose of going to design school is to design your own clothes. So that's not unusual. It's not like when we were kids and mom was sewing us crazy dresses. No, it's not the same thing.
Now, here's my question. Looking back now, as I'm thinking about it, I see a direct parallel between this character and Molly Ringwald in Pretty in Pink.
Right.
Where at the end of the climactic final scene, she's sewing her own prom dress.
I mean, it's not that unusual, especially like they're going back in their time in the 80s. Madonna made it a whole thing to thrift your clothes, and people are still thrifting. And now it's more like an eco thing. Like, don't participate in the wasteful fashion industry where you're buying garbage, buy quality over garbage, and thrift and redesign. So that's been going on since the 80s, and it continues.
So my question is...
Well, Edgar Wright is a man, so he has no idea. How's that?
When Molly Ringwald comes out, and what's his name? Andrew McCarthy's picking her up for the prom, and he sees where the grand reveal is her weird, crazy dress. Did you think it was a good-looking dress, or were you like, what the F?
First of all, I've never liked Molly Ringworm. And second,
Molly!
Remember when we were on a flight to Maui and she was in first class and Tara was like, Molly Ringworm, along with MacGyver.
She was still wearing that dress.
Flight. She was wearing
Richard
the black
Dean
Ray-Bans. Yeah, she was wearing the oversized black Ray-Bans and acting like we can't recognize her with that red hair.
Well, this is well past the Pretty in Pink Breakfast Club period. This is more into the Fresh Horses period of Molly's. Molly, if you're listening,
never saw that shit.
No one did. Molly, if you're listening, no offense. Sorry to drag you down to the. My point is that I still have nightmares about the crazy dress Molly Ringwald. I keep messing up her name. Molly Ringwald. Molly Ringwald wore to her prom with Andrew McCarthy. And James Spader was right, is all I'm saying.
All I can tell you is, no offense to the real Molly Ringwald, we're making fun of her TV, whatever, persona. Her persona.
There you go.
I mean, she's probably very nice. It's not like, she killed my baby and slept with my husband in that order.
Like a dingo?
Like a dingo ate my baby. Like a ringworm ate my baby.
That's what it is. There you go. Good times had by all. Sweet Jesus.
But I will tell you,
please,
fashion like art is a personal choice, and you can't. Every swing at the ball is not a home run.
Well, this art comes down to this: you're allowed to create whatever art you want to create. I'm allowed to have an opinion about it. That doesn't mean that it should affect your art. I'm not the in charge of you. You can do your art whatever you want.
And the problem is, of course, that everyone has an opinion and they all believe in this free speech idea. So 1 + 1 = I also have the right to offer you unsolicited advice about what's wrong and how you should fix it.
Well,
America.
As an artist,
America.
That's how we do it. It's a land of the free. I often solicit, critiques of things such as our podcast. Please, if you have thoughts and feelings. Now, I may hear your critique and decide, I'm putting that to the side. Thanks for nothing. I may drop one of those in there. But I do appreciate, because I think it is important to get multiple perspectives. That's all I'm saying.
It's true. I mean, it's interesting you say that. My experience with men in relationships, they feel that their advice is in fact what you need to do right now.
It is what Moses came down from the mount to deliver the word of God. I understand.
Giving advice to men is always optional from the receiver. When it's the other way, it's like, well, why haven't you done that? Oh, because I'm not going to.
I think what you're trying to say, Aaron, if I may.
Are you going to mansplain it to me?
Good times. Okay, so she's a fashion designer with a touch of the sixth sense, or she's crazy. It's like The Shining.
You know, it's
we don't know.
possible to be a bad psychic, a medium, and be schizophrenic. You can be all
of
the
the
things.
same.
It can be just like a melange.
A melange, like Donnie Wahlberg at the beginning of Sixth Sense. He was dealing with some stuff.
Did you see who he's,
you know
who
what I'm saying?
with now?
Jenny McCarthy.
Interesting couple.
Interesting couple. Good times. So Eloise meets her roommate, Jocasta, and they beat us over the head with how horrible Jocasta is.
I have to tell you, and I watch a lot of British shows. Jocastas and Fionas, there's always something wrong with them.
Jemimas. There's a few Jemimas in their circle of friends.
Oh my God. Aunt Jemima.
There you go. Aunt Jemima. The book of very British names. Let's call it what it is. Since we're going to offend everybody. No, it's like, she basically accuses Eloise of kind of playing up the fact that her mom committed suicide to garner sympathy.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, well, it was horrible. She's like, weird that she brought up her mom's suicide, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. The Jocasta character was so over the top. It was like just a sponge of neediness followed by, Hitler's sensibilities.
Exactly. Good times.
It was so over the top. It was so over the top. Although I will say I did have a roommate who insisted on having sex in our dorm room, even though I was sound asleep. Eventually, they built a fortress. They pinned towels or sheets around this twin-size bed, and she and her boyfriend lived inside this tiny fort.
She insisted. You walked up and said, hey, time out. And she said, hey, I insist. You're like, well, nothing I can do there.
I don't know. I was 18, so what I should have done is lit the bed sheets on fire and say, I don't know what you're talking about. I've never been here.
Say, I insist on burning you to death.
Oh my God, she was such a bitch.
If you're listening, no offense.
Offense.
So Eloise Bale moves out of the dorms and finds a 1-bedroom walk-up, like a boarding house kind of situation, run by, what's her name? Emma Peel. Diana
Riggs, Game of Thrones.
And I kept wondering, isn't she on a fixed income? I mean, how much money does Eloise have? They were making it seem like she was scrimping her pennies. Now she's just like,
Yeah, I can't request a roommate change from the dormitory or whatever bullshit, but I can cough it up. And then she's on a spending spree after that. When she moves in there and starts having her erotic 60s dreams, she goes on spending sprees.
Well, yes, there's no explanation.
In vintage clothes.
Yes, easily. And first and last month's rent.
Yeah.
All ready to roll. Here you go. Here's my bag of money.
Yeah.
She goes up to her room and Emma Peel tells her about you're going to, during the summer months, you're going to have to stop up the drain. Otherwise, an unholy smell will permeate the entire apartment. That should have been a red flag.
Yeah, that doesn't sound right.
Just in general.
So I'm on the top floor. So I'm on the 4th, 5th floor, and the sewer is literally bubbling up all through there. I mean, come on.
Even if there was no funny business, I'm still not taking that apartment at that point. I'm out.
I'm just saying, and knowing what we know at the end, that still doesn't make any sense. It wouldn't be the drain.
Well, who knows? Maybe it wasn't the drain. Maybe it was just... That was the excuse. Oh, better plug up the drain when it's literally every wall. Because the reveal is Emma Peel has been murdering gentlemen suitors. I mean, is she still doing it?
Literally
Is she still
becomes Eileen Wuornos. But instead of killing him at a truck stop, she's literally killing him in her own home and stuffing him into walls, which that's a small room.
Right. The reveal. Okay, well let's say this. Eloise lays in the bed and starts having visions every night. And I couldn't tell if she was like living the life of the blonde bombshell, Sandy, or if she was just kind of a voyeur, or if it was sometimes one, sometimes the other. What was your impression?
I think it starts off like Scrooge when he's visiting the people, and then she breaks through and starts kind of leaping back and forth.
Okay. So she is now seeing Sandy back in the swinging 60s, 65 or 66, whatever it was, who is desperate to become a go-go dancer at the club.
Singer.
What was singer? That's what it was. And was so full of confidence, she goes right up to who? The bartender?
Right. Well, she wanted to talk to the manager, and he was not there. So he directed him to that dude from that show.
The dude from that show.
The dude from The Queen.
From The Crown.
The Crown.
Matt Smith from The Crown, who was previously Doctor Who. He was the 12th Doctor, 13th Doctor after David Tennant. Good times.
Doctor Who's.
So many Doctor Who's. Two doctors ago.
Doctor Who becomes, which is, as it turns out, is really just a pimp.
Well, you think, because the bartender goes, oh, talk to the guy at the end of the bar. And it isn't until later we realize that guy, Matt Smith, that she talks to at the end of the bar probably had no affiliation.
No, but the bartender for
all.
sure is getting a kickback. He probably gets a kickback for sending these girls. And she quickly falls in line. You know, it's the same old, I forget what kind of pimping that is, where it's your boyfriend and he's grooming you and then it turns you out.
It's Linda Lovelace.
It's
basically
Linda Lovelace, and somehow she's trapped.
Right. Well, it's girls, and this is a sad story that happens today. It's women coming to, in this case, Soho, but it could just as easily be Los Angeles, with stars in their eyes, and then they turn around, and it's like, oh, not only am I not going to be a star, I'm now essentially a prostitute.
Exactly. I'm a prostitute. Yeah. My home life is no good. Otherwise, I would have returned then.
Right.
And now I feel like I'm trapped.
And it kind of takes that turn. I didn't see that coming. I didn't see the change coming. Although in retrospect, it's there, it's clear as day. Because the guy's like, she's dancing with Matt Smith on the dance floor in the big, beautiful, whatever it is, club. And he's like, you know what? You don't want to, work here. Let me show you this other club. It would be great. And she does her audition. She sings a song. And you think it's great. Cut to now she's just kind of a chorus girl in the background. Still okay. Not too bad.
Got your toe in the business.
Got your toe in the business. But then it's very much like, hey, here's this big time producer, somebody that you've got to shack up. That's when the curtain is pulled.
Weinstein's father. You need to handle your business. You need to be nice to him if you want to make this work out.
That's the grand reveal. It was like Matt Smith was not your boyfriend taking care of you. This is basically a Ike Turner, basically pushing you into a life of prostitution, and you're trapped. So that occurs over the course of the movie. It takes a dark turn real quick. I'm like, what? Whoa! Yeah. I thought it was going to be fun and games in the swinging 60s. Not so much.
I mean, at the beginning, she's really put together. She had to have had some money at the beginning for it to all slip so fast.
Right. Well, Anya Taylor-Joy, who plays Sandy, I'm honestly, I'm gonna lay it out here. I'm not a huge Anya Taylor-Joy fan.
Queen's Gambit.
She's Queen's Gambit. She was in The Witch. She was in Switch, M. Night Shyamalan. I just often feel like she's got like the crazy doe eyes that we're talking about.
That's what
like kind of the lifeless.
She's prey.
So that's an issue. That's Anya Taylor-Joy. She's fine, but I mean, clearly people think she's like the it girl because she's popping up everywhere. You can't throw a rock without hitting her at least twice.
She's very exotic.
She is. So there's that going on. So by night, Eloise is living the life of Sandy. And by day, she's now, dialing her hair and, styling it so she looks all fancy. But she's also having like bizarre like visions by day to the point she's about to be expelled from school because she's screaming all the time.
So she's not sleeping. She
Right.
already has this thing where she sees things. What they are,
Yes.
we don't know. Is it real? Is it in her head? So now she's having a whole mental breakdown. Nobody seems to really give a shit.
Again, there's the one guy that she meets the very first day who seems interested in her just for herself, for her quirkiness.
Yeah, it was a very promising young woman. We could still get busy while you're having hallucinations.
That's what promising young woman is all about. Premonitions while getting busy. Exactly. I liked Promising Young Women, by the way. Did you like it?
It was amazing, but the tacked on ending at the end was ridiculous.
Spoiler, should it just have ended with her death?
Yes.
God, that would have been dark.
It is dark. It's a
That
dark
would have been
story.
dark.
It's a dark story.
Oh, man. I liked the ending. A lot of people didn't like it. I liked the ending, but I understand what you're saying. It would have been rough sledding, baby.
You don't put a bow on it. It's ugly.
Yep, it's true. Good Lord. Anywho, so then it's, Eloise is now realizing what's going on here. And she thinks that Sandy was murdered because her vision, which this is the part that makes absolutely no sense. Her vision leads her to believe that Matt Smith murders her, stabs her to death, and kills her. So now she's all like going to the cops, thinking crusty old Terrence Stamp, who's still cruising, evidently.
Baby.
At 80 years old, is still cruising the local clubs, is Matt Smith today. But she has no evidence. They really push hard that he is the modern version of Matt Smith. They almost to the point where you're like, well, it's obviously not him. The fact that they're trying to convince us so hard, it clearly is something else.
Well, and he doesn't even look like... Okay, he looks nothing like Matt Smith. And the younger version of Terrence Stamp looks nothing like Terrence Stamp either.
Well, they both kind of had a similar smile, I guess. I don't know.
It's hard to tell when your face is now just one of those dried apples.
Oh, poor Terrence Stamp.
Don't even. If Terrence Stamp's in a movie, I'm down. Blimey, it's the limey.
We love Terrence Stamp. Kneel before Zod. But there's that scene where she meets the vice cop in the bar that is so random that you knew it was going to call back to it later. You knew that wasn't just some throwaway. Because at that point, Sandy's now living the life of like an escort where she's just knocking dudes back every night, I guess. Is that what's happening?
I guess.
So,
and then, of course, as your star begins to fade, the quality of the Johns starts sliding and sliding and sliding.
It's a hard life.
It's a hard knock life for her.
This is sad but true. So after she thinks Sandy dies, now Eloise is seeing like kind of ghostly apparitions, kind of faceless gray characters haunting her all the time.
They all look like Slenderman.
They do look like Slenderman. And I mentioned this before on the other podcast, but no one knew what I was talking about. There is a scene where I swear to God, there are 30 gray, faceless, naked British men with their dongs hanging out. Most terrifying scene ever. Go back and watch it, or don't. You'll do yourself a favor. Is that in the library,
or is that back in her room?
I think it's back in her room.
She's hiding in the bathroom?
I think so. Yeah. That would make me hide in the bathroom. Ain't no lie.
Normally I would notice the dongs, so I'm surprised.
They're there. they're staring at you.
Maybe we can do a screen capture and put that on our homepage.
Or not. But like The Shining, there are those moments where it's like, is this really happening? Are there really ghostly apparitions? Is it like a premonition where she's actually seeing things, but that they can't really hurt her? Or are there actual ghosts getting at her? What's the answer? I don't know. Maybe some combination thereof.
I think the
Who's to say?
whole lie about who killed who really soured me. You
Right. Because
basically
yes.
gave us false information because half of a horror movie and these kind of mysteries is you're trying to solve it. So if you're just giving us outright lies, that's bullshit.
I agree. Well, again, from her angle, she should be very clear about what happened. I can understand where it's like, I'm not revealing that to the audience. But at the same time, it's almost like they needed to have her be seated in a different part of the room. I don't know. She's just coming out of the bathroom and she sees Matt Smith over.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but they literally flip sides, didn't they? One person's getting stabbed, and it ain't Sandy.
No, what they revealed is he was above her.
Right.
And you think he's stabbing her, and you see blood all over her. But really, she's under him, stabbing him up.
So they're stabbing each other.
With his no, he's not stabbing her.
So then why are we seeing him with a knife?
I don't know.
Exactly. Lies.
No.
Fuck
lies.
Right. Don't lie to me.
Don't lie to me. So the grand reveal is that Emma Peel, Diana Rigg, who she's renting the room from, is Sandy. Is Sandy nowadays still alive? And the reveal is about this time in the 60s, she snaps and basically becomes a serial killer and is murdering dudes by the bushel and locking them up in her. She knows how to do drywall, a little bit of carpentry. She puts their
mummification or something, because otherwise that stuff would be dripping into the neighbors.
Absolutely. Well, she owns the whole building.
No. On the side walls. This is not a standalone house. You got shared walls.
So she's putting the bodies, God knows how many. And my question is she still doing it today? Is she still out there shaking her wrinkled booty, dragging dudes in? Who's to say?
So
was it a hobby?
How did she buy? She's reduced to prostitution. How did she buy that building? How is she supporting herself now?
Murder. I think she takes the rings and medallions and wallets and that's how she does. Maybe.
So now she's murdering girls.
Maybe there's
all those ghosts are middle-aged men.
Yes, that's true. Well, and I guess earlier in the movie they talk about how she says, "I need first and last months because I've had too many girls leave in the middle of the night."
So why is that? Because the ghosts.
Why is that?
Ghosts. Because, they get to London and they can't afford it. Could be lots of things.
Could be the ghosts, or it could just be economics.
Yeah.
Who's to say? Who's to say?
Well, then, if the ghost appears to everyone, then what makes this knothead special?
Not her acting. Boom. You're right. Who the hell knows what's going on? Sweet Jesus. So
the whole end to me was so freaking confusing. Like, she's sympathetic to her that now she's just a serial killer.
Well, I think
I figure after you've killed 10 people and drywalled them, maybe you got enough money you can leave.
She's into it now. I think now it's like I spit on your grave, where she's out to get all the men who've hurt her and more.
And anyone who crosses her path.
Well, I think that's because correct me if I'm wrong, Emma Peel kind of snaps out of it at the end. And allows...
While she's on fire.
While she's on fire, that helps. And allows Eloise to escape with her boyfriend, who just got stabbed.
Uh-huh.
He was worthless.
Some
knight in shining armor you were. Very sad.
And then now Eloise sees her in the mirror. So what is that?
I'm standing with the woman in the mirror.
She tells me to set fires.
That's exactly what it is. Can you think of anything else you want to say, or should we go to behind the scenes?
I will tell you, this movie started off bang. She gets to London, and you're like, the music is popping, the graphics are beautiful.
Beautifully
Oh,
filmed.
beautifully filmed. I was so excited. I was like, $20, right on. This is going to be great. And it slowly starts flaking off. I say once we get to the halfway point, it's all downhill. You're
Well,
like,
we had one.
what? Huh? It's annoying. She's so annoying. She's so annoying. Quite frankly, if you were getting busy with someone and they start screaming about murder and laying on the floor flailing about, you're lucky you got out of there alive and you have blocked her number.
Yeah, I'm out. I'm out. It doesn't even have to take that much.
And it's
I mean,
because it's
frankly.
not the first time she's gone psycho. I was like, I don't know you well enough. Peace in the Middle East.
No, well, because literally they're just starting a relationship, and she's established, I am schizophrenic, and at that point, it's like, look, you're very nice. I admire your design choices, I guess, but this is too much for me. Gotta bounce.
At the very least, if you want to be a helper, you call up mommy, Grammy, or mommy and say, hey, your daughter's bouncing off the walls over here. You need to pick her up and send her home.
You need to get the guys with the fire hoses and the rubber truck and toss her ass in the back.
She needs to go
This is the call you make.
the asylum. Oh, yeah.
To Arkham Asylum, no question.
For sure, Arkham Asylum. I'm like, little sister's not doing so well in the big city.
It's a sad situation. Yeah. It's a sad, sad situation.
Shall we just got messy and sloppy, and then when they faked you out on who killed who, that just pissed me off. So,
it's what do we say? What do we say? It's kind of a style over substance kind of situation. You know what I mean? Where it's beautifully done, but it's like we say. I don't like it when a mystery story or a mystery movie kind of defies the laws of physics to fake out the audience.
And don't get me wrong, a red herring, but this was not a red herring.
No.
This was just a lie.
Right. It was a trick.
It was just a lie, so that made me mad. Give me red herrings. That's okay. Confuse me, send me off in a different direction, but don't present something as fact. So every hallucination she has is correct, except for the big climax.
The reveal.
The reveal is a lie.
The reveal's a lie. Well, totally. I mean, and that's always the Shanker. We talked about that when we were talking about Blowout, which we did a couple weeks ago. It's like the camera, the killer's sneaking down the hall, but no one sees him. Right. How is that possible? The people are 2 feet away from him. Is he a ninja? Yeah. Follow the rules of logic within the world you've created. That's all I'm saying.
100%,
Good
brother.
times.
You are 100% correct.
Thank you. I should save that. Let's talk about behind the scenes. Are you ready?
You can make that your ringtone.
I just might. Many of the scenes that you see where there's the deserted London streets, they were able to do that because of the pandemic.
That's fantastic. I love it.
They were able to take advantage of it because otherwise these streets would be teeming with people up the yin yang.
Yeah. It reminded me of 28 Days Later.
It was. Basically, London had a national lockdown, and they were able to film during those moments.
Yeah, little known fact, 2 years ago, they had this thing called coronavirus.
I'm not familiar with
that. For
those
in the Trump camp, I believe it was called the Kung Flu.
Yes, it was. I believe that's fake news, by the way.
Fake news.
Anyway, this is the final performance of Diana Rigg, who I love. One of my favorite Bond girls ever. She was in On Her Majesty's Secret Service back in the late 60s.
She's amazing.
Dynamite. So she died September 10th, 2020. And this movie is dedicated in her memory.
And don't forget, great Game of Thrones, man. She was beautiful in Game of Thrones.
Olenna Tyrell, the Queen of Thorns.
Oh, I love it.
She was dynamite in Game of Thrones, no question. All of the effects, all the mirror effects that you see in kind of the swinging 60s periods where it's Eloise and Sandy looking at each other like through a reflection, all that stuff was done practically. Like they'd have like a fake wall or a fake mirror or place a mirror with like a piece of glass. There's a scene where there's a coat check guy who takes Sandy's coat, and then in the mirror you see the same coat check guy taking off Eloise. It's because they hired the Weasley brothers, who are the twins, to play it. So there you go, Fred and George Weasley. I'm sure they have real names, but they're Fred and George Weasley.
I want to
to
see
me.
we can create some fan fiction about how this is all part of the Harry Potter world.
It is. It's the extended Harry Potter universe.
There we go.
Fantastic Beasts in the 60s. Good times. Let's see. Thomasin McKenzie, who played Eloise, was originally supposed to be in Top Gun Maverick and dropped out to do this movie.
Well, I don't know.
There you go.
I didn't see that Top Gun bullshit. So, Kevin, how was it?
It hasn't been out yet.
Oh, okay.
We're still waiting for it. We were joking on another show that it's just like Tom Cruise is so old he should be like Admiral by now. Is he still flying fighter jets? I mean, is he on? He should be chairman of the Joint Chiefs at his age. At his advanced age,
He's like
for God's sake.
57. Is he still like a lieutenant or something at this point?
There's a scene. We've bucked you back down to lieutenant. Now you're back flying. You're 75 years old. To achieve shots of the students walking down the nighttime Soho streets, the crew hit a Steadicam within a bicycle rickshaw taxi. So the extras in the scene are not really extras. They're just regular people doing their thing in the Soho streets. So there you go.
You don't have to sign like waivers or shit like that? All right.
I think what they probably did is afterwards or before you're walking through, they
there's
say
a sign posted.
sign.
Yeah.
Right. If you walk through here, then you waive all your rights.
Screw you.
Stephen King had the opportunity to see this movie in an advanced screening. And he was so impressed by what he saw, he tweeted, "I hardly ever rewatch. There's so many good things out there, but this one's special."
I might rewatch it when it comes on regular TV. I will not spend another $20.
No, it's okay. Again, not bad, not great.
Yeah.
But
it's aight.
visually beautiful. Visually beautiful.
It's aight.
This movie was inspired by the films Don't Look Now with Donald Sutherland and Julie Christie. We should do that at some point.
Right.
And Repulsion.
Oh, wait a minute.
Catherine Deneuve.
Is that the
film.
one? It's Don't Look Now, the one that's in Venice?
Yes.
With the kid with the cape.
Well, it's like a red rain slicker.
Yeah.
How dare you? I don't like the way you did that.
Mm.
Edgar Wright says that George Miller saw an early cut of the film and was so impressed with Anya Taylor-Joy that he immediately offered her a role in his next film, Furiosa, which is the sequel to Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, Lord.
There you go. We talked about how James Bond was a major influence on this movie. There's like the big Thunderball sign with Sean Connery on it. You've got Diana Rigg, who was a Bond girl. There was another Bond girl in this, Margaret Nolan, who played the unheralded role of Dink in Goldfinger. She's in one scene and gets her ass smacked by Sean Connery.
Who's
good
Dink
times.
in this?
She played the wise sage of the bar, like the
Oh,
old...
yeah. I liked her.
So this movie's also dedicated to her. She died like less than a month after Diana Rigg died.
But
there you
Terrence
go.
Stamp still kicking it.
Still kicking. He's not as old as they are, I don't think. I mean, maybe I'm crazy. But they were big, or they were working primarily initially in the 60s, where I don't think, was Terrence Stamp doing stuff in the 60s?
I don't know how old. He's 1,000 years old.
He's 1,000 if he's a day.
He was in Superman.
But that was 1980.
Was it really?
Yes.
Well, it wasn't exactly young then.
No, he wasn't. You're absolutely right. Edgar Wright suggested that Thomas and McKenzie watch his list of 50 films containing some of his personal favorites.
Are you ready? Terrence Stamp is 83 years old.
He's old. He's an old man.
Let's see.
The others, I think, are well into their 90s, though. So there you go.
Lord.
We can look it up. She claims to have watched all of them except one, which was Suspiria. She did not watch that one yet. So there you go.
That's a classic home.
Thomasin, get off your rump and go watch Suspiria. The original
Terrence
1977.
Stamp started his acting career in 1962.
Oh, sweet Jesus. So if he's 83 now, this is
He is known as
60 years ago?
He was known as the master of the brooding silence.
Oh, I believe it. When he was in Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, nothing but brooding
Oh
silences.
my God, he was so good.
Good times. We love Terrence Stamp. He was also in Kevin Doherty's favorite, Alien Nation, starring Mandy Patinkin and James Caan. So check that out.
Who was he in that?
He was the main villain. He was William Harcourt, the evil alien.
Oh my God. He was in the shitty version of the Haunted Mansion.
Yeah.
And oh my God, the Peculiar Children Home, stupid movie. Far from the Maddening Crowd. That's something.
You know him, don't you?
It's a Get Smart. Oh my God. It's a
sweet.
bunch
The
of
original
shit.
TV show?
He's been in a bunch of shit.
He's the hardest working man in show
He's
business.
in
He does what
Valkyrie.
he can do.
Speaking of Tom Cruise.
Tom Cruise.
Star Wars Episode 1.
Good times. Should we talk about the cast and crew?
Let's move right on over.
We talked about Edgar Wright, the writer, director. You know him, Shaun of the Dead, Baby Driver, more recently, The World's End.
Baby Driver is the worst.
I have to say, I found it disappointing. Same thing. It's like, technically, it's very well done. Just didn't do it for me. And it should have. It was a heist movie, for goodness sake. Anyway. Eloise was played by Thomasin McKenzie. You know her from Jojo Rabbit. She was in Last Night in Soho. Old recently. She was in something called Leave No Trace in 2018. She's a New Zealand actress, not English or Irish, as previously suggested. Anya Taylor-Joy played Sandy. She is a British American actress, born in Miami, and raised in England and other places. You know her from Queen's Gambit, The Witch. She was in The New Mutants.
Oh Lord.
She was in something called Morgan in 2016.
About her father.
She was in. That's the one. You know it, don't you? Let's see. Matt Smith played Jack, the evil pimp, I guess what he is, talent agent. You know him from, he was Doctor Who for 10 years. He was in The Crown. He was Philip. Yep. He's in the upcoming Morbius movie, Last Night in Soho. He was in Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, the movie version.
Oh my God, I never saw that.
Go check that out.
I never saw that.
Not great. Diana Rigg played Miss Collins. You know her from Last Night in Soho, On Her Majesty's Secret Service, Olenna Tyrell in Game of Thrones, and she was Emma Peel in the Avengers. Do you know what M appeal is? Her name comes from something called M, the letter M, appeal. And it means like they thought she was appealing towards men.
For sure she was. She's wrapped in plastic most of the time.
M appeal is what it's called. There you go. Anybody else I want to mention? Not really. I think we're covered. Terrence Stamp. We got to talk about.
We just talked about him for 40 minutes.
Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert, The Limey, Unfinished Song, Superman. You know him, don't you? I think that's all we need to know. Fred and George Weasley are in this. Good times. I think we covered all the bases.
Good enough.
Let's talk about our ratings. Last Night in Soho currently has 75% fresh. The audience gave it 89%.
What the hell? That's Edgar Wright and his parents or something? What is that?
Edgar Wright and his parents talked about it. Let's talk about top critics just to see what they may have thought.
What did the ghost of Roger Ebert say?
He was a gray, faceless character. Let's see. Any of these people I recognize. I always look for names that I recognize. And Richard Roper.
All right.
Gave it 3.5 out of 4.
What?
In one of the year's most exciting movies, Thomasin McKenzie stars a time-hopping design student who melds with a mysterious singer, ...
Honestly, do people just get paid for good reviews at this point? I was like 3.5. Okay. Oh, out of 4. No. Come on.
Rex Reed. The problem with this movie is the way it continually
off with the problem. There you go. Rex Reed, you're on it.
It continually defies logic to the point of silliness. That's all today's target audience for Edgar Wright movies asks for. Original score, 1 out of 4.
Ooh, I'm not going
You
that
dropped the
hard.
hammer.
I'm not going that
No.
hard, but it's refreshing to hear someone tell it like it is.
Rex Reed has no issue dropping the hammer.
No.
It's often been said, does Rex Reed even like movies?
For now on, mark this down on the calendar. We're only going to Rex Reed now.
He's the only true reviewer. I think we can all agree on that.
I'm tired of all these people always feel like they have to find something. The scenery, the cinematography is amazing. Oh, so it's a pretty shitty movie.
Well, you're a photographer. You should appreciate framing of the shot,
I'm not
lighting.
going to see a photograph. So if I'm going to a movie and the first thing you want to tell me about is the costume design, I know we're in trouble.
That's fair. That's fair. So hit me. What is your rating?
Oh my God. I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 British ghost wangs.
You stole mine.
I knew it.
You don't even remember. You don't even remember the ghost wangs. They are haunting my dreams.
Now my mind has made them up. They're more horrifying than a Jeff Bezos rocket.
That is sad but true.
Did you see that new rocket now looks like an uncircumcised penis? He's doing it on purpose.
I think that's just what you see wherever you
Google.
look.
Everyone Google and tell me I'm right.
Do not do that, ladies and gentlemen. Good Lord. Yeah, I would say, 3 out of 5. The issue with this movie is it is more of a psychological thriller, which we've talked about before, than a true horror movie. Because it deals with kind of perceptions. You know what I mean? What is really happening? What is really going on? Is she nuts? Does she have psychic powers? Are there ghosts or some combination thereof? I didn't find it scary.
No.
At all, and I think it's like you said, it starts off with a lot of spectacle, the vibrant colors, kind of opening up like Alice in Wonderland into a new world.
In so fast. I mean, really, the first half of the movie really, really works. And then they just drop the ball. They dropped the ball at the point when they lied to us, and then it just kind of falls apart. And now you're not sympathetic with. Why are we supposed to have all this sympathy with Sandy? Why are the dead people on the walls sending her these dreams of Sandy being a victim when they're the ones dead in the walls? It just doesn't make sense.
I mean,
why is
I guess that's
Sandy
the
coming
question.
to
Are
see
you
her?
supposed to sympathize? That's a good question. Now, who's the ghost of Sandy?
Yeah, Sandy's not dead, so why is a ghost visiting her?
I wouldn't even think about that. We're peeling layers. Look at this.
Whoosh.
Sweet Jesus.
Boy.
No, I agree. 3 out of 5 ghost dongs should cover it. I did find them quite unsettling. I'm not going to lie. Not just the dongs, but the whole ghostly apparitions visiting. I thought that was unsettling. Overall, it was okay. Mark it down.
Mark it down.
Boom.
Mark it down.
So there you have it. Go for it.
It doesn't make sense. Like, why aren't they trying to communicate with her? I mean,
why aren't they haunting Emma Peel? Haunt her ass.
She's downstairs. Why aren't they just standing around her bed screaming at her?
All night long.
I mean, they can go to the library. Why wouldn't they be like messing with her? That part, it's like it all fell apart the second half. Boom. That's all I got to say.
She can't kill you again, ghost guys. Yeah. So you might as well just mess with her throughout eternity.
Yeah, it's all wrong information. She's literally the worst psychic that God put on the worst. She's worse than that Teresa Caputi, the Long Island medium. Worse than that.
Oh, she's coming to the desert soon.
I saw her in the B-Town. It was the most disturbing spectacle I ever saw in my life.
More disturbing than Ghost Dog?
It's literally, if you would like to just see a bunch of desperate people crying and if they have a message from their dead children. That's what I paid $50.
Oh,
it was so upsetting. I was like, my friend and I were like, we need to go and have a couple of drinks.
Oh, God, $50. There you have it. Thank you very much. Go to our page on Twitter at TPodcastTWDie. Go to our page on Facebook at The Podcast That Wouldn't Die. We are on Instagram, Aaron.
We are on Instagram. We are the podcast that wouldn't die.
You can also email us at the podcast that wouldn't die at
Gmail.
Gmail. We are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, anywhere the finer podcasts are available.
You know what?
So check that
That
out.
always reminds me of The Office when they had the Finer Things Club.
That's
While
it.
you're meeting with the Finer Things Club, you can listen to our Finer podcast.
Please do. Treat yourself.
Parks and Rec. Treat yourself.
Treat yourself. So now you are also on social media for your individual exploits.
I am the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. And I'm also Don't Feed the Pigeon if you would like to dig a little deeper.
Dig a little deeper, I say. Good Lord. Next week, we'll be discussing the science fiction horror. Who the hell knows what this movie is? It's Saturn III, starring Kirk Douglas, Farrah Fawcett, and a crazy Harvey Keitel. It's like a maniac envisioned this film, and we are all forced to live
When is
with
Harvey Keitel not crazy? And 2, do we really need to see Kirk Douglas's ancient old ass?
Clearly we do, because this is going to haunt my dreams, much like the ghost dog.
Only naked person in the whole movie. And Harvey clearly doesn't have a problem showing his ding dong, as we learned from the piano. Oh, Lord. But why it needed to be Kirk Douglas when you have Farrah Fawcett? Yikes.
Yikes! So check that out. You can watch that on Vudu for free. It's on Tubi for free. You're going to watch some commercials because you don't want to pay for this one.
No.
Let me tell you, don't pay to see Saturn III. So good times.
You'll welcome the commercials. It'll give you more time to basically search the internet like I did while the movie was on.
That is correct. You'll welcome them. You will not thank us, though, I'll tell you what. So check that out. So, thank you very much, and be well.
Later, people.